the story broke of a book revealing FBI files claiming that Lord Mountbatten, very famous member of the British royal family, famous naval leader and a mentor of Prince Charles and to an extent Prince Philip as well, that he was a paedophile. Now that, of course, was no surprise where I'm sitting, because I revealed that in a number of books, including The Perception Deception many years ago, which also tells the background to Jimmy Savile, the historic paedophile in terms of scale, who was exposed a few years ago now and was a BBC entertainer who, and this is the relevant bit in terms of Lord Mountbatten, who was a inner circle member of the British royal family, and he entered that circle thanks to Lord Mountbatten, who was a close friend of Savile and introduced him to the royal fold. So here we have Lord Mountbatten, a major member of the British royal family and a paedophile, as I've been saying for years, who introduced a infamous historic level paedophile, Jimmy Savile, into the inner bosom of the British royal family, where Savile became a close friend of Prince Charles right to the day that Savile died in 2011, and was a regular visitor to royal palaces. I was told by a close friend of Princess Diana, a close friend for 9 years, about how Diana couldn't stand Savile, thought he was sleazy. Well, she was right about that. And also that Savile was used as an intermediary between Prince Charles and Diana when their marriage was breaking down. We are talking a paedophile in Savile that the police knew all about, and therefore special branch, that elite level of the police and security agencies like MI5 also knew about. If the FBI knew that Mountbatten was a paedophile, those same people, not least MI5, MI6, knew that Mountbatten was a paedophile. One of Mountbatten's sources of children, young boys, was the Kincora Boys' Home in Belfast, which has been at the centre of a exposure over the years, but not the real big story of paedophilia against the kids that were living there. Not just at the home, but taken away from the home, where the rich and famous like Mountbatten could abuse them. Wow, MI5, MI6, not only looked on, but used Kincora as a way of blackmailing people they wanted to control. Then there's Anthony Blunt. Anthony Blunt, also exposed in this book at length, as is the whole Savile story. Anthony Blunt was exposed, indeed had to admit in the end, that he worked as a Russian spy, Soviet spy, part of the infamous Cambridge Five, with people like Burgess, Maclean, etc. But he was also, for 27 years, surveyor of the Royal Picture Collection, both under the previous king and the present queen. Blunt was a cousin of the Queen Mother. Blunt was also a brutal paedophile who also had boys supplied from King Cora. Blunt also was dispatched by the royal family at the end of the Second World War to gather up letters between the British royal family and their Nazi relatives, their Hitler supporting relatives. Ooh, bad for PR. Anthony, get over there. Get the stash before anyone sees it. And of course, the British royal family is a German royal family, the House of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha. And it changed its name to Windsor during the First World War, when its German relatives were at war with Britain. And at the same time, the German British royal offshoot called Battenberg changed its name to Mountbatten. So here we have Jimmy Savile, not just a monumental paedophile, but a procurer of children for the rich and famous. That's the bit the mainstream media don't talk about. And that's why his back was covered all the way through his life. Because as we've seen with Epstein, what happens is you have your back watched and you're protected, as Savile was, until the point where they can't protect you any longer and the whole ring is in danger of being exposed, and then they'll hang you out to dry in whatever way it takes for you to disappear. And so with Epstein, when it first broke, they protected him. They got him a plea deal, which changed a potential life sentence for paedophilia into a next to nothing sentence. But when it broke again, and the ring was now in danger of coming out, well, let's just say, in whatever form, Jeffrey Epstein is no longer with us. Savile was not exposed until he died, and therefore he was looked after. The police who knew about it let him continue. Special branch, MI5, all of them. You cannot cough out of tune close to the British royal family without MI5, special branch, etc., knowing all about you. And here was a prolific paedophile and procurer of children for the rich and famous, brought into the fold by another paedophile member of the royal family, Lord Mountbatten, and the establishment and the law enforcement of the establishment and the security agencies of the establishment looked on and did nothing. And now, of course, we have the royal connection to Jeffrey Epstein in the form of Prince Andrew, who is accused with serious evidence of having sex with a minor girl who was basically a sex slave of Jeffrey Epstein. And at least one of the occasions is said to have been in the London home of Ghislaine Maxwell, the daughter of a Mossad agent, Robert Maxwell, who was the procurer, it is alleged, by the victims, of minors for Epstein and his ring. So, it happened in London, it is alleged, in her home. So the London police should be involved, right? And the security agencies, as they should have been involved with the connections to Savile. But they haven't been. Why? Because people may have ridiculed me, not least the mainstream media, over the decades, when I've said that this world is run by an elite network which has its own agenda and protects its own from the laws and the consequences that the rest of us would face. They may have laughed and ridiculed, but actually it's true. Just like all the paedophiles I've named, the drip, 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 the elite paedophiles, are now drip, 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 coming out. Latest one being Mountbatten. And these people are untouchable because of this elite network which looks after its own and works through the law enforcement agencies, the security agencies, governments, the royals, all these different aspects of this elite, including the media. And if we are going to have, as a people, self-respect, and as a nation in Britain, self-respect, then we must demand that there are not laws for one and laws for another, indeed no laws for the elite. We must surely now demand very loudly that the police instigate an independent, that's possible, investigation into, well, a number of things. One, how Lord Mountbatten could be a known paedophile, known to the FBI, and thus known to the authorities in Britain, and be allowed to get away with it and go on abusing kids. Two, an independent investigation into how an historic scale paedophile, Jimmy Savile, could be introduced to the royal inner circle in the 1960s by the paedophile Lord Mountbatten and stay in that inner circle all the way through almost to the end of his life and remain a close friend of Prince Charles to the end of Savile's life, while he in that meantime is abusing phenomenal numbers of children and procuring children for the rich and famous. The idea that the royal family didn't know is insane. The police knew, therefore MI5 knew, therefore Special Branch knew, therefore the royal family knew. So why wasn't he outed? What was he doing that protected him? Why did the royal family protect him? Indeed, not just protect him, but have him in their inner circle all that time. And then, given the evidence that's already been presented in the United States, and the fact that the allegations include what happened with Prince Andrew and a minor at a London home of Ghislaine Maxwell, why hasn't Prince Andrew been called to a police station and questioned about it? Anyone else would have been, outside the elite, that is. Why haven't official investigations begun into Ghislaine Maxwell about her activities in London with minors and Epstein? Why? Because there's one law for the elite and there's one law for the rest of us. I've been investigating the British royal family very deeply for 30 years nearly. And so much that I've said has been waved away at Icke and natter, usual stuff. And again and again and again and again, it's proving to be true. And I'll tell you this. The British royal family is a horrific cesspit. And if the people of Britain knew who they were, what they are, and what they get up to, there would be a revolution in the morning. Actually, make that today.